I really like the idea of bringing in the public. I think putting out that appointment, I think we should have both, like, 3 candidates, people from the community. I think we should also have the board, but I also think we should have the heads of different departments that are going to deal with the manager all the time, as well as council should
I
be
would
in
agree
there
with that.
when we do that.
I would agree with that too. I would very strongly agree with that.
David has his hand up.
Good. One thing I just, as just a thought process is, remember you're hiring the general manager and you need to, I think, make some consideration whether you want the people that's working under the city manager, I mean the general manager actually hiring their boss. I mean, they're actually gonna be interviewing and hiring their boss, and that's possibly could be a little bit of a conflict. I'm not saying they can't do a good job, but I'm saying that they would be hiring their boss, which is,
Yeah.
could be a tad bit of some
Yeah,
conflict.
I
But with
understand.
some
That's a good
technical,
point.
with some technical information, you know, Steve would be a good resource to make sure that the person was knowledgeable in the.
Well, technically, but I'm talking about for the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe that's where we bring them in during the screening process, maybe not, and narrowing it down to the finalists.
If I could, you make, oh,
Let's let Kent.
sorry.
Just something for you to think about. You might want to consider a citizen committee that you can, the number is divisible by 5, so you can have the same kind of proration on the committee that you have on the board. So nobody feels like anybody's got a weighted representation or not.
You're saying move it to 5 instead of 3.
Each
10,
board
15.
member could
Okay.
pick a citizen that they would want
After we've received their application.
in the final
Yeah.
interview process. Or
You know, I think, I'd like to involve the public, I just don't want them to have more weight than the board. I mean, the buck's gonna stop with us. I'd like to get input, and I don't like the appointing because I don't want everybody appointing their buddy. I want to go through and see who has knowledge that could actually help us, so.
I would also recommend talking to Pete Peterson and see if he would be willing to,
I'd surely be one that could fill out an application.
but he would certainly have the technical background, and the knowledge of the system itself without being, and he
Well,
would
yeah,
be
Aaron's
very
already
knowledgeable
actually
about
talked
the
to him and he
employees
said
without,
Still available?
Yeah, Aaron's talked to him.
He's still
Yeah.
available.
but he would be knowledgeable about the employee side without being an employee that would, have some kind of possible conflict like Dave was talking about. If he's willing to do it.
We know he works cheap.
Aaron, you had some comments, right?
That's all I was actually leading to, as well as just, someone that has professional knowledge or a knowledge of a specific field that the general manager is going to be responsible over. If it's
Engineering.
engineering, water, financial, something of that nature. So I can ask, understand responses back, and they'll say, "Yep, he knows his stuff," or "No, you know what, he's up to the night a little bit on that." So that's my recommendation. I would have, is someone knowledgeable on that specific field.
Okay, does everybody have enough information?
I don't know, do we need to have a motion on this, or can general manager, or our interim general manager come up with I mean, you've heard all the suggestions that are there, I mean,
Are we
come up
through?
with a process of how we want this to happen, and, I mean, we still got, till the 25th that the applications are still out there, so, I mean, it's not like we're in an extremely big rush to get it done, but, I mean, we don't wanna drag it out much longer than we need to.
I guess if I can respond a little bit, again, that timeline I think is important as well. If we're going to go out, okay, we can do the pre-screening. Sounds good. We can do that, and if you want Mary and I to do that, we can do that. And then the next step, and this is again, my reading into what I've heard here and then recommendations as well that I've looked at. So after pre-screening, then are we gonna have a telephone interview process, similar to last time? And then if we do that, again, I think that's where the decision needs to be made. Is this the panel, or is it just gonna be, 2 board members, 3 citizens?
You and Mary. Yeah, I think that's what we gotta decide,
And then,
I guess the first thing we gotta decide, are we gonna use, people from the public?
Cause if we are, we need to get that posted and get that.
And if we are, let's come up with an application, something like city.
I think
Okay.
everybody's in agreement on that, aren't they? To bring the public into it? Okay.
And then how many?
Per the recommendations there, you need to make sure that, the how many is a secret, because if you're gonna have 5 board members, then you maybe wanna have 5 people from outside, give you a total of 10, or you wanna have 15, so you got 3 in each group, or whatever number you come up with.
Well, I guess it depends on how many we're gonna get down to the bottom. I mean, if we have
I
3
hate
final.
I hate to say we're gonna narrow it to 2, or we're gonna narrow it to 4. I mean, that needs to be dictated by the quality of the applicants.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do, once again, my personal feeling is I don't wanna see much more, I would like to see 3 members from the public. I just don't want, and of course, we're gonna value their opinions and everything, and we want their input.
Dave's
But I
got a
don't
comment.
want them to outweigh the board either.
I would possibly potentially, this would be, assume you didn't have any of the, well, you might have Pete on it, but no city staff, I keep saying city staff, water board staff. You'd have 4 public, Pete would be included potentially in that. That way you end up with 9 people, you have 3 on the committee, because you've gotta break you up into non-quorum, so it'd be 2, and so there'd be 1 with 2 public, so you need 4 public, with the 5, that makes 9.
So you're saying Pete would be one of the public?
Upon the public, right, the one.
Yeah, I think he's probably.
And that way, so you
I would
have-
love for Pete to do it, but I
Yes, I
think
would.
he needs to.
I'm saying, but Pete would be one of those 4, and that way you end up with 9, and you end up with 3, 3, and 3.
Right. That makes
Because
sense.
you can't have more than 2 of the board members sitting there without setting up a quorum.
Okay, that makes sense.
And, I'm gonna agree to disagree with Mr. Baldwin here, I still think that, I agree, the 4 makes sense, we have 5, 4, 9, then I think, personally, I think we add in Aaron, Mary, and Steve, and have them each on one of the committees for their input.
I really said it for consideration, not
Well,
should or shouldn't, it's kind of an important consideration.
I mean, we're already using Aaron and Mary to do all of our pre-screening. They're gonna sort through everything, they're gonna do the pre-screening, so they've already kind of gotten into the mix as far as, I think that keeping the 2 of them and possibly Pete or
Smith.
Steve or somebody of
Wes.
that nature, or
Like
someone
Wes
from
is
the
another one
water.
already.
Wes
Wes.
would
the
be a
county's
good,
gonna be a large,
West one would be a good one.
financial part.
And
Again,
then still bring in X amount of community, and I think on our thing that we can even kind of direct what
If
we,
you're
what
gonna
we
raise-
expect from the people from the community, I mean, we
Yeah,
don't just
that's a
whoever's
good
standing
point.
on the corner to come in and necessarily, we want
I-
people to be
Somebody made,
objective.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's-
Somebody made the
Knowledge.
comment that, it may not be a good idea to have somebody hiring their boss. Maybe Steve, maybe Pete would be the one you'd wanna bring in, Pete, because that's not the case with him, and he certainly has complete knowledge of the district. And then the other one, from the group here would be, Steve, or, Wes Smith,
But when
the financial guy.
I
But
think,
they're just gonna do the pre-screening, Carl, they're just gonna throw out the guys that don't
I'm
qualify.
talking about for the final.
Oh,
I'm talking
yeah,
about for the
okay.
final.
well, I think, Susan brought, Sandra, sorry, Sandra. Sandra brought up a good comment about the public, and I think maybe something we need to make sure is that they sign something saying that they realize that there's confidential information. Your office needs to stop and get involved with some kind of disclaimer.
Yeah.
I think it's important they understand that, you know, the board's gonna make a decision. Ultimately, we appreciate their help in trying to decide who the best candidate is, but also that the board's gonna make that decision.